On today's video, we're going to be talking about property searches. So you know those things that you have to pay a solicitor to do when you have agreed to buy a property. You probably remember maybe if you've bought your own property, but on the buy-to-let front that still applies. So local searches they're called. We're going to be talking all about those and what that means and how we can help you understand that further. Welcome back to Property Insight. My name is Mark Ashworth.
I'm Neil Harding.
So property searches.
So there are several and many different property searches. For anyone that's not bought a property before, you might not be aware that there are lots and lots out there, and many of them really they have to be done because a mortgage lender requires it and won't lend unless the searches are done. So we thought it'd be a good idea to go through some of the main ones. Probably not every single one, but some of the main ones so that people are aware of what they are and what they mean and whether or not to be worried about them.
So just to clarify, if you were to buy a property in cash, let's say, do you have to do these searches? Is it legal requirement?
No, not a legal requirement. You don't have to. It's really down to your own risk appetite as to whether or not you feel it's necessary. You may want to do the same set of searches that a mortgage lender or bank would want to do anyway for your own peace of mind, especially if it's a particular concern that you've got. Let's say it's a house in Derbyshire and you're worried about mining. You might want to do a mining search. We can go through them all, but it's about your own appetite of risk and whether or not you're concerned for any particular reason.
Sure. Okay, so let's go through the main ones, shall we? Let's have a chat about those.
Yeah. So there's a local authority search. I've got a list here. We'll go through some of the main ones. So a local authority search provides important information about any potential restrictions, benefits and conditions regarding the property searched that you may otherwise not be aware of. And this is one that mortgage lenders do require. There are several that mortgage lenders require. Another one is the search of the local land charges register. That will cover things like conservation areas and tree preservation orders, smoke control orders, or listed buildings. So those sorts of searches through your local authority will tell you about local planning restrictions, various things that might be going on, transport plans maybe, proximity to railway lines even. All these sorts of things might get, not always, because they're not necessarily always perfect either, these reports. We should also say that it's possible for these things to miss things, but the important thing is they might flag things that are important to bring to a buyer's attention.
Usually when the searches are done, they typically will send you the report, which many people, I would imagine, probably, say thanks very much. and does the solicitor read them? I think the solicitor's objective here is to obtain the search and to send you copies of the search. Are they also really being paid to actually review that search to see whether anything is flagged up, and should they be informing you?
It's a really good question. I mean, I would say don't rely on the idea that your conveyancing solicitor is sat there spending a good hour or more reading all of your searches word for word on your behalf in order to prepare their report to you. They might have had a cursory look over some of the pages, and probably what they'll have done though, I suspect, is read the front cover sheet, see if there's any particular red flags that get highlighted, because there is a summary page on the front of these searches more often than not, and then they'll prepare a report based on that, I think.
Yeah. And for the most part, I think with a lot of these things, it's all pretty standard stuff. One that comes up, which always is sometimes can sound a bit more frightening than it is the radon gas one.
The good old radon gas one. Yeah, I love that.
What is it? And I've never come across it before, but it only ever seems to come up when I'm actually purchasing a house. No one ever talks about radon gas any other time.
No. Thankfully, all the searches that I've ever seen for radon gas, it always seems like it's not an issue. But
flooding's a big one, though. Of course, if you're near to a river or to the coast, a coastal area, often it will be subject to higher flooding levels, and sometimes that can be an issue with lending, and obviously particularly with regard to buildings insurance. So you might want to just take note of any flood reports, because if you are in a flood zone area, we've seen some pretty horrific things on the news over the last few years where places flood, they get absolutely waterlogged, And obviously people make insurance claims, and when those people make insurance claims, it makes insurance companies not want to insure, or your premiums are particularly high.
Yeah, and the drainage and water inquiries or flood search is also one that a mortgage lender will request and insist on. So that, really important one. Another important one is HM land registry searches, which is essentially a search to make sure that the property has been correctly registered at land registry, and that the people that are saying they own the property and have the title of the property and can sell it to you do actually own the property and can sell it to you, and that the title has been correctly registered. If that's not being done, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to actually then go ahead and buy the property, go through conveyancing, get the property title to be registered in your name, because without that being done, of course, if it's a lender, they're not going to be able to actually register their charge against the property in your name. So again, that's a really essential one, and really important for auction properties as well, because if you don't get your auction pack reviewed by a conveyancing solicitor in advance of the auction, and you are the winning bid at an auction, and the people trying to sell that property don't actually own that property, doesn't change the fact that you've just said you'll buy it. So really important.
I think there is quite a surprising number of properties that aren't registered with Land Registry in the UK. I don't know what the number is, but I am aware that there are a considerable number. So and obviously people do chuck things into auction where they want to perhaps try to negate doing any difficult paperwork, shall we say. So there are various reasons why people put stuff into an auction, and sometimes they will take the risk that someone will not check the documents and the legal pack. And you've only got to watch Homes Under the Hammer to realise that there are idiots out there that will literally buy a property without seeing it and without reviewing the legal pack at all. Have no due diligence whatsoever. Present company accepted. We did a video on this before, but
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Another search is mining. So, have you ever done a mining search?
No. Gold mining?
So I think there are a handful of other searches that are sometimes requested, probably by a lender, and sometimes might just be something that you want to do depending on the particular location of the country that you're in. We mentioned mining in Derbyshire earlier, but I think there are other areas of mining in the country as well. But essentially, things like that, maybe you want to get done. There used to be a search for chancel repairs as well. If you've ever heard of chancel repairs,
yeah, that comes up quite often.
Yeah,
this is where the local authority will insist that properties in the area are responsible for repairing chancel repairs, which are essentially churches. So if the church tower decides that it's going to collapse, then they will approach all the local homeowners to pay for the repair of the local church. Typically, almost every single time, there's a charge for a chancel repair insurance policy, which basically will cover the cost of that. It's usually very little, and it's a one-off insurance premium that just is perpetual. Yeah,
30, 40, 50 pounds, that sort of money, not sort of bank-breaking amounts of cash, but yeah, it's possible. And then on the subject of indemnity policies, generally, you can actually take an indemnity policy in lieu of the searches.
Yes.
So if you're a cash buyer, then you can, one of the great things about being a cash buyer is you can sometimes get great deals because you can move quickly. And if you're able to complete in just a few days or a couple of weeks or something, one of the ways that you're able to do that and still get some comfort around the idea of all these risks that these searches deal with is you can get an indemnity policy for maybe 100 quid, 200 quid, this sort of money, which basically gives you an insurance policy against anything that might have arisen in the searches had you had them at the point of completion. So worth knowing.
Yeah, I completed on a property a couple of years ago, which we completed on in 2 weeks. And my solicitor said he was quite happy to complete in that period of time, not a problem. But he did say that local authority searches would take probably longer than that. And so therefore he recommended that I take out an indemnity against those searches.
Great. Well, I think that covers most of the searches that you're going to come across, and we hope that you found that video insightful. Please do comment, like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. It helps us deliver more to you. See you next time.